Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 series, Rescue the Rockies. And we are 2 months into the 2036 season. Our Rockies are doing everything we could have hoped with a 36-17 record. We've got the best record in baseball and a 9.5 game lead already on the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers here in the National League West. Appreciate all of the feedback from the worldwide scouting department to some trade opportunities we talked about in the last episode. We were thinking about adding a guy who could be kind of a third starter. Two names, Mr. Cortez and Mr. Satchwell, who we could potentially move on from one of our left-handed hitting outfielders, either Kevin Waymont or Ted Miller, to pick those guys up, and got a lot of interesting feedback on those two pitchers in particular, as well as potentially trying to add a higher-end starting pitcher, as well as potentially trying to add a catcher to the team, given that Mike Girard, our starting catcher, is once again out for the year. Feedback came from a variety of sources: Stanley Rosella, Undercover Boomer, Patrick DeBonis, Dustin Durbin, Ty84 Moss, YMe943, and Ravenspawn3 all gave various perspectives on what we should do. As we sit here on June 1st, I think I am going to hold tight. I do agree with the general consensus that Cortez is a more interesting option than Satchwell. He was also, as we saw at the end of the last episode, a slightly more expensive opportunity than Satchwell, which you might expect for a guy who most people who opined on those two thought was better. But I do feel like with the way our pitching staff looks right now, adding another guy who's kind of a number 3 starter and in theory has potential to get to be a number 2 starter, but realistically, given that those guys are 25 and 26 years old, probably not going to happen that they reach all of their full potential. I don't see either of those guys being a difference maker for us right now, and I think we should be able to pick them or someone similar later this season or in the off season if we need. I do feel like adding a higher quality starter is something important for us. We are at the point now where we've got a clear dominant number 1 in Leo Martinez and a great number 2 in Noah Schultz, who was our 1 when we first picked him up as a free agent 4.5 years ago. But Schultz has the opportunity to opt out of his contract after this year, and then if he doesn't, next year is the final year of his season. So ultimately, we've got an incredible number 1 starter in Leo Martinez, and then we've got probably 4 or 5 guys who are potentially 3, 4, or 5 starters, which isn't a horrible place to be when you've got a number 1 who's as dominant as Leo Martinez is. But ultimately, I think we want to add a little more quality into the rotation for the medium term, assuming that we probably won't be bringing back Schultz after his 6-year contract with us has run its course. And as we talked about, he has the option to opt out after this season. It would be very weird for him to opt out at an older age and as a slightly less effective pitcher than he has been, as he's definitely entered into his decline, but you never know with the AI for OOTP. The price for guys who really kind of fit that role as a clear number 2 starter on the trade market is absolutely ridiculous right now. I have looked and there's no opportunities there, unfortunately, but something that we'll continue to keep an eye on as we move forward. In the catching situation, have investigated the catcher market as well. And we look at who's available on the trade block. There's really nothing interesting out there right now, but it is only June 1st. We also searched for guys who were competent offensive catchers with really good defense. And there's a few out there we could potentially try to trade for, but the price is honestly pretty prohibitive. I don't hate where we are as far as a starting catcher with Harris right now. We picked him up expecting that Girard could have some injury issues, and we wanted to upgrade our backup catcher spot, and Harris has done really well for us there the last couple of seasons, and he's really played more than Girard last year, and he's going to end up playing more than Girard this year as well. But if Harris is healthy, I'm more than willing to roll him out there 120 games a season. Harris is a guy who, as you can see, is a good to very good defensive catcher. The bat is competent at the major league level. He's a useful-ish guy. Last year he put up an 89 WRC plus for us and a 2.2 WAR, playing about 100 games. This year, hitting .231 with 5 homers and 9 ribbies and 104 at-bats. The WRC plus a little lower, but still a 0.6 WAR here, a third of the way through the season essentially, and he's going to be playing a lot more going forward, so it's very conceivable he'll put up a similar season to last year when all is said and done. Not a great catcher by any stretch of the imagination, but more than competent at holding down a starting role in the majors with offense that's not horrible and defense that's pretty good. So my issue is going to be if Harris gets hurt, then we've got a very big hole to fill. So catcher is certainly something I'm going to keep an eye on. With Harris and Girard being similar age and similar trajectories in their career, it is going to get to a point in the coming years where one of them gets way too expensive to be a backup. Harris is not as good as Girard when all is said and done, a little worse defensively and not quite the same pop in his bat. But Harris is a healthier player at this point, which is certainly important. So I think we still have some decisions to make around catching and the pitching staff as this season goes forward, and if not during this season, as we get into next off season and towards the winter meetings. But for the near term, I think we're going to hold tight, but just kind of wanted to review some of the feedback that we got, share my thoughts, and now it's time to start moving on with this month of June. Taking a look at our team schedule, fewer divisional games this month than we've had over the first couple months of the season. Got the final game of the series in San Diego today. And then besides that, until we got 4 games against the Dodgers towards the end of the month, no divisional rivals. A lot of games against National League East opponents, as it turns out, and also games against the Cubs and the Milwaukee Brewers from the NL Central. And then we'll finish off starting a series at the end of the month on the road against the Las Vegas Athletics. And before we do start simming forward through this fictional universe towards the midway point of the season in our annual roster review, did want to highlight a couple of the top prospects in our system in the early going of this season. And this also factored into why I didn't end up pushing it as far as a pitcher right now, because we do have several pitchers in AAA that we think could be helping us this season, and I don't know if any of them are an obvious number 2 starter, but there's certainly a chance that some of them could develop into someone who could have that kind of role for us, which would be certainly positive. If you've noticed, our lower level minor league teams continue to dominate this year. I have started to put some roster restrictions in based on viewer feedback to try to make things a little more competitive there, but unfortunately right now it definitely seems like the AI with the enhancements that OOTP has made in the last patch or two is struggling to compete with humans in the lower levels of the minor league organizations, which is certainly not optimal. But back to our 8 top 100 prospects. Jeff Colson, starting pitcher, number 1 prospect in our organization, 22-year-old, 19th ranked prospect in baseball, former first-round pick from just about 4 years ago in 2032. Negatively, he's fragile. Negatively for playing in cores, he is a fly ball pitcher. But other than that, there's a lot of positive things to say. Good personality, can hit triple digits on the radar gun, and he does have a profile. If he reaches his full potential, he could be the number 2 type starter that we're looking for, with a potential 6-pitch arsenal. Good stamina, good at holding on runners. A lot to like about Colson. The question is, will he actually reach that full potential? How much of an issue will the fly ball tendencies be in cores? It does look like he could be decent at keeping the ball in the park. And how much will that fragility impact his career? It's definitely impacted his development, as he has missed chunks of multiple seasons. This year, he has missed some time as well, pitched only 4 games in Double-A Hartford, 1-0 record, but an ugly 6.59 ERA. His Sierra is almost 4 runs better than that, though, so you could argue he's gotten unlucky, and certainly a 4.29 BABIP against him would indicate that he probably has gotten unlucky with the stuff that he has. Would expect that we promote Colson to AAA before the end of the year, and he is a guy who ultimately we're hoping could be playing an important role for us, or if the fly ball tendencies just don't really work well in cores, could have some pretty good trade value going forward. Shortstop Carlos Davila, 19-year-old, who was our international free agent signing a couple of years ago, number 28 prospect in baseball, hitting .292 in 171 at-bats in A-ball for us. We'll definitely be promoting him to high A before the end of the year, but as somebody who just turned 19, think that even A-ball is a relatively aggressive level to have him at, but it's not inconceivable that he could be seeing Double-A action before the end of this year, and he could be a guy who is in the mix to be a relatively important infielder for us in the not-too-distant future. David Guadrone, another one of these pitchers who we think could help us in the not-too-distant future. He was our supplemental first-round pick a year ago out of the University of Illinois at Springfield, listed as the number 32 prospect in baseball right now. 8-1 with a 4.16 ERA in AAA Albuquerque. He basically could certainly fill a 5th spot in the rotation for us if we needed. Right now, we've got enough depth at the major league level that we're not going to push him. Certainly would be helpful if that changeup gets better and he can continue working on that. Don't view Guadrone as necessarily someone with the same type of ceiling as Colson has. Guadrone probably ultimately going to slot in as a solid 4 or a great 5th starter for us if he reaches most of his untapped potential. But he is another guy who could be helping us not too far along. Mike Castro, he's part of the reason that we were talking about trading away the likes of Miller or Wayment, because we still have, despite some trades over the past few years, a lot of good young outfielders in this organization. Castro, who was our first-round pick in 2034, the number 34 prospect in baseball. The 24-year-old is clearly ready for the majors at this point. We're probably not going to bring him up until September simply because we've got the best team in baseball without him. Might as well try to run him through as a rookie next year and earn a prospect promotion incentive for us. The thought would be that we'll get him up in September, and he could very well be playing an important role for us on a playoff roster. But sadly, we just don't need him much right now. But he is having a ridiculous season in AAA, hitting over 400, 15 doubles, 5 triples, and 13 homers in 193 at-bats. So definitely a man among boys in AAA for Mr. Castro right now. Manny Soto, a younger starting pitching prospect. He was our first-round pick last year. Made his professional debut this year, 1-0 with a 2.37 ERA. He started 5 games in rookie ball for us, but he's stretching himself out, not even going 4 innings a start. Walked 15 batters in 19 innings, but he has struck out 31. So initial returns on Mr. Soto look solid, although it doesn't appear that his ceiling is going to be quite as high as we had hoped when we drafted him less than a year ago. Nils Mensch was our international free agent signing from the amateurs this year. The 17-year-old is still at our international complex. Probably promote him to the DSL next year. Two final pitchers who aren't far off from being able to help us round out our top 100 prospects. Dan Patterson, second-round pick back in 2031, number 59 prospect in baseball. Unfortunately, his season's likely over. Tore his back muscle, going to be out for 4 months. But he was 2-0 with a 4.10 ERA, AAA Albuquerque for us. Another guy who doesn't look like he's potentially got the highest end ceiling that we hoped he would have when we made him a second-round pick, but still already has 4 major league quality pitches. We think the movement and control can be average as well. Good influence in the clubhouse. Okay stamina, okay at holding on runners. Think as a 4th or 5th starter, a 5+ inning pitcher, he could have value for us going forward. And then last but not least, among the top 100 prospects in our organization, Kikaku Kawakami, scouting discovery from back in 2029, 5-3 with a 5.29 ERA in AAA Albuquerque. Still almost a win above replacement. The PCL batters tend to hit. Potential 5-pitch arsenal, although still certainly some work to do for Kawakami, particularly on the changeup. Good stamina, although he's awful at holding on runners. View him as another guy who could be a useful major league starter for us, and he perhaps at this point, at least according to our scout, has a higher ceiling, so more similar to Colson in that if everything works out with Kawakami, you could argue that a Colson or a Kawakami could be the second, definitely the third starter type that we're looking for when we think about the likes of Guadrone and Patterson when he's eventually healthy. Those are probably guys who are more 3rd, 4th, 5th time starters, but we do have some potential as far as the young starters in this organization, and that was another reason why I didn't feel the need to jump at making a trade right now. And to the point I was making not too long ago about the AI not working well with the changes that they've made in recent patches. Just got the announcement here that the DSL season cannot be started because the Pittsburgh Pirates have an incomplete roster. And as you can see here, only 7 players on the roster for Pittsburgh in the DSL. So that's pretty disappointing that the game has managed itself so inappropriately. This is something that hasn't historically been an issue, but with some changes that they've made recently, it seems like something is broken, which is definitely unfortunate. Looks like I'm going to have to turn on the ghost players option, which is pretty weak, but it is what it is. I'm not going to spend a ton of time manually putting 20 different players onto this team's roster, especially because there might be other teams that have similar issues. But definitely a bit frustrating when something that wasn't broken with the game ends up getting broken as they try to fix something else. But I guess that's the nature of development here in 2025. And Derby Mahez now back from his relatively brief stint on the IL, 42-21 record for our Rockies. So we continue to play good baseball, even though we did lose yesterday to the Nationals. We had hoped to get Dickerson down, but as we talked about in a comment to the last episode with Patrick DeBonis, didn't necessarily expect that he would take that demotion well. He's the guy who we signed to a minor league contract with major league options. Brought him up a couple of weeks ago when Mahez got hurt, and since he won't accept the demotion to AAA, and we do want to keep him in the organization now, given that Tovar is wrecked physically, Mahez is fragile, and we may need him down the line to play more significant time. We sent down the youngster Manuel Torres, who was doing a pretty solid job for us as a DH against left-handed pitching, but was not playing particularly often, given that for whatever reason we have faced very few lefties thus far in 2036. And a relatively minor injury issue is now popped up. The young rookie left fielder, Phil Dingwell, back stiffness, going to have an impact on his hitting and his running over the next week or two. Because we are so deep in the outfield, we probably will throw him on the IL just for 10 days. We can bring up a guy like Kevin Wayment. Dingwell, after a slow start, was the National League Rookie of the Month in May. As we sit here on June 15th, hitting .271, 9 homers and 38 ribbies. He's also already slashed 17 doubles, so he's put up a 122 WRC plus and a 1.2 WAR. Certainly would think by virtue of having won Rookie of the Month in May, he could still be a solid contender for Rookie of the Year, and hopefully when all is said and done, missing the next week or week and a half of action won't have a big impact on his prospects. And the month of June is now in the books. Weren't quite as dominant during June as we had been in the first couple months of the season, but still really rolling at 53 and 28 overall. 15.5 game lead on the Giants and the Diamondbacks now. The Dodgers have plunged all the way to last in the National League West. Taking a look at the leaderboard, right at the midway point of the season, although we haven't gotten our mid-year review yet, would expect that in the next day or two. Kevin Roberts second in the league in homers, Ryan Stone second in ribbies, and Anthony Pack second in the league in stolen bases. Adonis Valer continues to lead the league with 26 saves at the midway point of the season, and Leo Martinez, who's looking for a potential third straight Cy Young Award, is second in the National League with a 3.3 pitcher WAR. So a lot of solid individual performances, and most importantly, the team performance still very impressive. Huge lead in the division, and looks like we've got a 3-game lead on the Mets for the best record in baseball. Interestingly, we have played 4 more games than the Mets at this point in the relatively early going of the season. So they've had a few more off days and rainouts than we have at this point. Taking a look at our team statistics here, mentioned June was not quite as good as April and May, but still a 17-11 record, over a 600 winning percentage. Our overall record now just a game ahead of Pythagorean expectations, extra inning and 1-run games normalizing a little bit. Still have faced only 12 left-handed starters thus far this year, but we had just a handful as of the end of May, so face them a more normal amount in the month of June. Taking a look at the team batting statistics, first in the league in runs scored, and you can see we are in the top 4 in every pitching category except for strikeouts, where we swing and miss quite a lot, ranking 15th in the National League in that category. First in steals, second in base running, second in defensive efficiency, and 6th in zone rating. So very good running team and a good fielding team as well. Ranked 3rd in the National League in runs allowed, and you can see we're in the top 6 in all of the primary pitching categories. So a really nice season thus far for our Colorado Rockies as we approach the midway point of the season. We do have one relatively minor injury issue to deal with. Ted Miller, hamstring strain, going to impact him for 2 to 3 weeks. Miller, not quite as productive offensively this year as he had been in previous seasons, hitting .263, 12 homers and 43 ribbies and 251 at-bats. Still all adds up to a 118 WRC plus and a 1.1 WAR. With him being banged up, we will send him down, and that'll give us an opportunity to bring the lefty Kevin Wayment up for the next couple of weeks. And we've played a few more games since we last checked in. We're on our record to 54-29, still obviously in first place. To get to our mid-season review, Charlie Monfort, pleased with our record at this point. Thinks that Aaron Bell was a nice addition defensively, but still wants us to add a Gold Glove winner, hoping for better results in road games. Overall, happy with our progress towards goals, delighted with our overall performance. Certainly would think that as we sit here on July 4th, 2036, so that is the 260th anniversary of the United States, that can't expect us to be much better than we are. 14-game lead on the Diamondbacks. Nobody else in the division even has a winning record, so pretty well positioned to hopefully have another division title. Hopefully we'll have a first-round bye. Hopefully we'll have home field advantage through the playoffs as we pursue a fourth straight title. And with our mid-season review from ownership discussed, we'll now turn to our mid-season review of our roster. And not surprisingly, Leo Martinez, as we've talked about, making a strong run, hit a third straight Cy Young Award, 9-1 record with a 2.60 ERA, 3.3 WAR. Hasn't been quite as dominant as he's been in the last 2 years when he led the league in wins, ERA, WHIP, quality start percentage, WAR, and a couple of other categories each season, but certainly very well positioned to have another really nice year for us. Noah Schultz doing a really nice job as our second starter, 8-4 record with a 3.65 ERA. As I noted, he can opt out again next year, but given that he's had that opportunity the last couple seasons and he's opted in, our hunches will have him back next year, but we never know for sure. The 3, 4, and 5 spots in the rotation, a little less strong. Aaron Bell, who we brought in to be our third starter this year, 6-5 record with an ERA of just over 5. Did think that low adaptability might result in him struggling a bit, but the struggles have certainly lasted longer than we anticipated. Looking at his ratings, though, do ultimately think that he'll be a useful third starter for us before the season is done. Andrew Painter in a slump right now. He's kind of been in a slump all year, 7-5 with an ERA of 5.5. He is at this point clearly a fourth or fifth starter, 33 years old, still signed to a fairly reasonable contract, but realistically with the youngsters that we have on the way, it's not inconceivable that Painter could be struggling to find a roster spot with us in the not-too-distant future and could be trade bait going forward. Bernie Barrera has been our fifth starter this year, 4-6 record with a 4.26 ERA. The scouting discovery from back in 2028 has been a pretty solid pitcher for us since we brought him up. And when we look at Painter, it's not inconceivable to think that maybe we move Barrera up into the fourth role in the rotation going forward. Actually, Barrera's on normal rest right now, Painter on extra rest, but maybe we will make that swap right now just to ensure that Barrera gets the extra starts over Painter going forward. Adonis Valer, our closer, who missed the last half of last year with an injury, back and performing as well as ever. 1.24 ERA with the league best 27 saves. He has been absolutely dominant, whip of .80 with almost 10 strikeouts per 9 innings for us. Justin Gibson, who we brought back controversially to some people, had a expensive contract for a reliever that's definitely a bit front-loaded, but he's continued to be a very productive, high-volume reliever for us. 2.45 ERA over 44 innings pitched. 1.1 WAR on the season, already matching what he did a year ago. As we've talked about a lot of times with Gibson, he's led the league in games 4 straight years, holds 5 straight years, and certainly should be on the short list in both of those categories to lead the league again this year. Lefty Wellington Herrera, former closer, having a nice year out of the bullpen with a 1.50 ERA. He's only pitched 18 innings for us thus far, though, so hopefully we can get a little more activity from him going forward. Chris Kennedy, the young reliever who we signed to an extension last offseason, 6-2 with a 1.93 ERA over 42 innings pitched. So when you look at the pitchers pitching the 7th, 8th, 9th innings for us, the 6th in some cases, a lot of quality there. The lefty Luke Little, he could be in his final year with us at this point, not nearly as effective as he has been in the past with a 5.21 ERA, been slightly below replacement level. Not making a ton of money. We've got a team option on $1.5 million for him for next year, but the walks, which are always an issue, continue to plague him this year with 8 and 19 innings. More importantly than that, he's given up 4 homers this year after not allowing a single home run last season. The righty Rich Hannon, another reliever for us, having a great year as far as his ERA, 1.11 ERA over 32 1/3 innings. He ended up getting injured right at the end of last year and wasn't available for the playoffs. Hopefully we'll have him down the stretch this season. Josh Joss, young reliever with a 2.12 ERA over 34 innings, a guy who we signed to an extension this offseason, even though he had a rough introduction to the majors last year. And Dandy Joss looks like he's going to be a dandy reliever for us going forward. And then our long reliever was an all-star last year, Gregorio Olvera, 3.04 ERA over 47 1/3 innings. He continues to do a nice job for us out of the pen. He's the first guy we'd likely move into the rotation if we had any injury issues or if we decided to move on from Painter. Although, as I noted, we also do have several interesting starters at AA and AAA who could be helping us in the not-too-distant future. And the trade market always remains an option that we'll continue to explore as well. Turning now to our position players and our outstanding offense this season, mentioned that we just put Ted Miller on the IL, brought Wayment back up to the majors. Mike Girard, our starting catcher, is gone for the year, unfortunately. Jimmy Crooks, a veteran who we signed this offseason, ended up promoting him onto the 40-man roster. He's been our backup catcher, hitting just a .76 in 51 at-bats since Girard went down. Certainly a spot that we could potentially look to upgrade. Nate Harris has been our starter. He is in a cold slump right now. The batting average has dipped to just below 200, 5 homers and 12 ribbies in 186 at-bats. Still been a league average player, driven by his good defense, but catcher will remain an area that we continue to explore. Again, I'm pretty content with Harris as our starter, even though he is, as I noted, in his slump right now. But if Harris gets hurt, we're in a rough situation, and we certainly could upgrade the backup catcher position from Crooks. So that's something I'll continue to investigate. Turning now to our infielders, Ryan Stone, the veteran first baseman at this point, former first-round pick out of UVA, continues to do what he does, which is just hit. 270 average, 19 homers, 4 doubles, and 13 homers just past the midway point of the season. Gotten a bit more action this year than normal. He's only in the lineup against right-handed pitching, but since we haven't faced too many lefties, he's actually played in 80 of our first 83 games. 116 WRC plus, 1.2 WAR. Not as dynamic offensively as he's been in some previous seasons, but still a very important player in the middle of our lineup. Trent Kaysen, the young infielder, playing primarily against left-handed pitching for us, but he has found some time into the lineup against righties due to the fact that we do have some injury-prone players. 261 average in 138 at-bats, does have 7 homers and 27 ribbies, so a 113 WRC plus, almost a win above replacement level. would view Kaysen as being an increasingly important part of our infield going forward, particularly given the fact that this could be the final year for Ezequiel Tovar with the Rockies. Second baseman Derby Mahez obviously has spent some time on the IL. When he's been in the lineup, he's been good, hitting .280, 9 homers and 39 ribbies and 225 at-bats. Also has 14 doubles, 12 stolen bases for us, OPS just over 800, WAR just over 2 on the season. Is fragile physically, so always a risk that he gets banged up. But Mahez, the former first-round pick out of UCLA, took a while to get to the majors, but he's definitely become a useful player for us. Speaking of useful players, Rosnile DePaula, the 27-year-old, hitting .277 with 6 homers, 27 ribbies, and 303 at-bats for us this year. Slightly above average in terms of his WRC plus at 104, and he's about 1.1 wins above replacement level this year. Luke Dickerson, talked about him. We signed him to that minor league deal. He still thinks he should be a starter. Does give us some depth in the event that Mahez, Tovar, or others have injuries, even though he is actually fragile himself. He's 7 for 28 in very limited playing time with a home run. Utility infielder for us, but this was a guy who we thought about trading for a year ago, was originally looking for over $10 million a year on the open market, so felt like he was a good insurance policy for us, even though he's not necessarily the greatest influence in the clubhouse. Cody Schreier spent a lot of this year as a utility infielder for us in the lineup right now, with the fact that we demoted the young infielder Torres. He's been our DH against lefties recently, and he has gotten some playing time due to injuries, started almost half of our games, hitting .232 and 138 at-bats. So he's been close to a league average offensive player, does have 10 doubles on the season, slightly above replacement level, can play a number of positions in the infield adequately. He's a guy who we've got team options on the next couple of years as he heads into his mid-30s, depending on how some of our younger infielders develop, depending on what we think might be available in the trade market and the free agent market. Schreier may not be with us for the long term. And we're at the point where we can perhaps, unfortunately, say something similar about Ezequiel Tovar. He's going to be turning 35 in less than a month, wrecked physically at this point, although he's been healthy this year. Still great in the clubhouse, really good on the base paths, and an excellent defensive infielder. But the bat certainly not what it used to be. Tovar hitting .239 and 268 at-bats, only 4 home runs this year, although he does have 18 doubles, 12 stolen bases, but a 74 WRC plus, certainly not what he used to be. Still over a win and a half above replacement. Looking at his fielding stats, definitely still a premier defensive shortstop when we look at his zone rating and defensive efficiency. It's been a while since he won that Gold Glove back in 2024, but he has been a very good defensive shortstop over the years. At this point, he's looking for $12.5 million a year for 5 years as far as an extension through his mid to late 30s. Don't feel like that's something that we're going to jump at right now, given that he is wrecked physically, although still certainly a very useful defensive player for us. And last, but certainly not least, we'll take a look at that loaded outfield of ours that has kept Kevin Waymont in the minors for most of the season and Mike Castro in the minors for the entire season. Phil Dingwell, who we gave the Castro treatment to a year ago, midway through the season, hitting .269, 11 homers, 42 ribbies, does have 19 doubles for us. 122 WRC plus, 1.3 wins above replacement. As he mentioned, he was the National League Rookie of the Month back in the month of May. Would think that he is still a contender for the Rookie of the Year. Still needs more Major League service time to be eligible for that prospect promotion incentive. Hopefully he will get it over the next several months of the season, and hopefully he'll ultimately have a Rookie of the Year award-winning season. But certainly not a slam dunk to win it with the way he's produced thus far. Center fielder Anthony Pack Jr. Remains an outstanding defensive center fielder. He has won the last 2 Gold Gloves in center field, and a solid, albeit unspectacular, offensive player, 88 WRC plus, which is kind of right what he's been since he joined us. 9 homers and 43 ribbies and 269 at-bats, and he is 26 for 26 stealing bases this year for us. Ultimately has put up a 1.6 WAR on the season for us. Kevin Waymont, he was up when we put Dingwell on the IL about a month ago, now up with Miller on the IL. 12 for 39 with 1 home run in the limited playing time he's got, so he's hitting 308, 130 WRC plus. He had 22 homers and 67 ribbies for us last year as a rookie, caught up in a numbers game at this point that ultimately will probably be solved through us making a trade of a Waymont or a Ted Miller. But right now, as I noted at the start of the episode, given how well the team is playing, given that there's no truly game-changing type starting pitchers or catchers that we can pick up for anything approaching a reasonable price, going to hold tight, see some more cards over the next 4 weeks or so till we get to the trade deadline. Clearly, if there was a major injury, that might make us do something a little more urgently. But right now the team is doing well, even though we've got a lot of talent stacked in AAA at this point. And last, but certainly not least, Mr. 5 Tools, Kevin Roberts Jr. He's won 3 of the last 4 National League MVP awards. And batting average has dropped a bit this year, but still having a very productive season, hitting just 263. So that's down, but does have 19 homers, 48 ribbies, scored 55 runs for us, 19 steals on the season as he looks to be headed for another 30-30 season. Ultimately, the 139 WRC plus is down from previous years, the 2.8 WAR, not quite the same pace that he's had before. But looking at his abilities, certainly a guy who's going to continue to be the straw that stirs the drink for the Colorado Rockies. He's going to be 28 years old at the end of this month, just hit the 200th homer of his career, approaching 200 doubles. He's already got a 33.1 WAR over the course of his career, led the league in runs a couple of times, homers and ribbies once, on-base percentage once, slugging and OPS a couple of times, along with WRC plus and batter WAR a couple of times on his way to those 3 MVP awards that we were talking about. And he's already won 6 postseason MVP awards. He's been a perennial all-star, Silver Slugger a couple times, a member of all 4 of our World Championship squads with the Rockies. Hasn't won a Gold Glove yet, which is a little bit of a surprise. Taking a look in right field this year, zone rating and defensive efficiency, honestly, only a little bit above average. So he hasn't been as good there as he's been in center field, interestingly. Still has a profile that would suggest he could win a Gold Glove in right field down the line, even though it has not happened yet. So our Colorado Rockies in a very strong position as we sit here on the 4th of July, 2036. Next time around, we'll sim through the next week or so till we get to the draft and then take a look at the pool that's available there. Hopefully we'll be able to get some feedback from the worldwide scouting department on what we should consider doing in the draft this year. Obviously open to your thoughts on the trade market as well. Don't feel like there's any huge holes on this team to fill. We'll continue to look for catcher. We'll continue to investigate the periphery of the pitchers. But as I said, given what we've got in AAA right now, I don't feel like we need to reach for a 3rd or 4th starter. I feel like there's guys in AAA who can definitely help us if we do have some injuries there. always going to be looking to help this team and try to make it better. But as I noted, when we think about this team somewhat holistically, got the best record in baseball and a 14-game lead in the National League West with a great offense, very good base running, very good pitching staff, very good defense. Don't need to make any moves out of desperation as we try to position our Rockies for a fourth straight title. Until our next episode, thanks so much for watching and hope you have a great day.